If you're serious about long-term shelter preparedness, here's the threat that takes down more bug-out locations, homesteads, and backup properties than any of the scenarios we actually prepare for. Not a break-in, not a flood. A slow leak behind a wall that you don't catch for 3 weeks, and by the time you find it, your floor joists are already compromised. Mold doesn't wait for a crisis to start. It's working right now in crawl spaces and attics across the country. And when the grid goes down and there's no $3,000 remediation crew available, the people who survived that problem are the ones who treated their wood before it became a problem. That's what this video is about. A mineral compound for under $6 that professional lumber treaters already use in commercial construction, that the USDA Forest Products Laboratory has published research on since the mid-20th century, and that the remediation industry has zero financial incentive to ever put in front of you. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what to buy, how to mix it, where to apply it, and why it works chemically, so you can protect your shelter investment before you ever need it, not after. You find a dark patch behind your bathroom vanity or along the rim joists in your basement. You do what everyone does. You grab the bleach, spray it down, wipe it off, the stain fades. 2 weeks later, it's back, usually darker. So you spray again. And you either keep repeating that for years, or at some point you call a professional and hand over a check that starts at $2,200 nationally and climbs fast. $10,000 to $30,000 for a crawl space or finished basement situation. The inspection alone runs $300 to $1,000 just to confirm what you could already see. Here's what that professional does not do. They don't treat anything to prevent mold from coming back. They remove the existing colony. That's the entire service. Containment goes up, negative pressure machines run, HEPA scrubbers work the air, they bag the debris and haul it out, and then they leave. And you have a clean slate until the moisture conditions that caused it in the first place cause it again. Because nothing structurally changed. That's not incompetence, that's the business model. You can't sell recurring remediation contracts if the problem stops recurring. Bleach keeps showing up on contractor recommendations, home inspector handouts, and store shelves because it's cheap, it's familiar, and it appears to work. The stain disappears. Problem solved. Except, no. What you're looking at on your wall, the black or green discoloration, is the fruiting body, the surface expression. The actual organism lives below what you can see, sending thread-like structures called hyphae deep into the drywall, into the wood grain, into the grout. What you see is roughly like the mushroom above ground. The mycelium running through everything underneath is the actual organism. Bleach is sodium hypochlorite in water. The chlorine, the part that kills, gets consumed almost instantly when it contacts organic matter at the surface layer. It never penetrates to the hyphal network below, but the water carrier does. It goes straight through the surface and delivers moisture directly to where the organism is actually living. When you spray bleach on moldy drywall, you're sterilizing the surface while feeding the root system. The EPA acknowledged this directly. Their official mold cleanup guidance, available on epa.gov, states that bleach is not recommended as a routine practice for mold remediation on porous materials. That language has been in their documentation for years. It never made it onto the label of any product at Home Depot, where bleach-based mold sprays still occupy a full shelf section. Borax, sodium tetraborate decahydrate, a naturally occurring mineral salt that's been documented as a wood preservative and fungicide since the 1870s, under $6 at most grocery stores or Walmart. When dissolved in water, borax produces an alkaline solution at approximately pH 9.3. That number matters because the USDA Forest Products Laboratory, the federal research institution that has studied wood decay and preservation longer than most government agencies have existed, has documented extensively that most indoor fungal species grow optimally in acidic to neutral conditions between pH 4 and 6. At pH 9, you're well outside the viable growth range for the vast majority of them. But the alkalinity is only part of the mechanism. Boron compounds interfere directly with fungal metabolism at the cellular level, disrupting enzyme function and blocking spore germination. The USDA Forest Products Lab published peer-reviewed research on this specifically, including work by Clausen and Yang in 2007 and a follow-up by Coleman's team in 2013, documenting borate performance against wood decay fungi, brown rot, white rot, the organisms that actually consume structural lumber. Against those species in particular, borates perform strongly. Now I'll be straight with you, because inflating results is exactly what the industry we're criticizing does. Against certain common indoor air quality species like Aspergillus and Penicillium, Borax alone showed weaker standalone results in that same research. The studies found that combining boron compounds with fatty acid compounds, certain soaps and surfactants, improved performance against those organisms significantly. So borax isn't a universal answer to every mold species. What it is, and where it genuinely outperforms everything else available at this price point, is as a preventive treatment for wood and porous materials, and as a remediation agent against existing colonies on hard surfaces like tile and concrete. For deep infestations already inside drywall, you still need to cut and replace. But what you treat the replacement framing with is where borax earns its place. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. This is not obscure chemistry that nobody uses. Bora-Care, manufactured by Nisus Corporation, is a borate-based wood preservative that pest control professionals apply to structural framing lumber across the country every day, for termite prevention, for decay control, for exactly the kind of long-term wood protection that matters to anyone building or maintaining a serious shelter. It's commercially approved. It works. A 1-gallon jug of concentrate runs $80 to $100. The active ingredient is disodium octaborate tetrahydrate, DOT, a refined borate compound, the same mineral family as the borax sitting in the laundry aisle for under $6. You are already paying for this chemistry when it comes through a licensed applicator. You're just paying 50 times more for it. The underlying mineral is the same. The concentration differs. The delivery mechanism differs. Commercial products use a glycol-based carrier for deeper wood penetration that a simple water solution can't achieve. But the active compound doing the protective work is the same compound your grandfather used to treat fence posts. 1 cup of borax dissolved in 1 gallon of hot water. Stir until fully dissolved. The solution goes clear when it's ready. Apply with a spray bottle for small areas, a pump garden sprayer for crawl space joists, attic sheathing, rim joists, and basement walls. If you have existing visible growth, scrub it first with a stiff brush to break up the colony surface, then apply the solution. Do not rinse. That's where most people go wrong. The borax needs to dry in place and stay there, because the residual alkaline deposit on the wood surface is the protective layer. That's what resists future colonization. You're not cleaning with it, you're treating the material. For bare wood framing, floor joists, rim joists, wall studs in a basement or crawl space, this creates a protective barrier that is functionally comparable to what commercial applicators charge several $100s to apply to new construction framing. Not identical, because the glycol carrier in professional products drives the compound deeper into the wood fiber, but in the same chemical territory, for a fraction of the cost, applied by you to your own structure. 2 limitations you need to understand before you use this. First, topical application doesn't penetrate wood the way factory pressure treatment does. For deep, permanent protection in a high-stakes structural application, you're looking at commercial borate products with glycol carriers, or pressure-impregnated lumber from the start. The spray solution works on exposed surfaces and open grain. It's a maintenance-level treatment, not a manufacturing-level one. Second, and this is critical for anyone managing a property in a wet climate or with any foundation moisture issues, borax is water-soluble. In areas with active water intrusion, a seeping foundation wall, a crawl space that takes on water seasonally, the compound leaches out and you lose the protection. Fix the water first. Borax protects what's already dry and what you intend to keep dry. It is not a solution for wet surfaces. Low acute toxicity. The LD50 is in the range of table salt in terms of lethal dose. For a one-time crawl space or basement application with basic gloves and ventilation, the exposure risk is minimal. But that's not the full story, and you should have the full story. The European Union classifies borax as a reproductive toxicant at high, sustained exposure levels. That classification is based on animal studies at concentrations substantially above what a homeowner encounters applying it in a utility space. But it's a real classification, not a conspiracy. Don't use it in food prep areas. Don't inhale the dry powder when you're mixing the solution. Keep children and pets away from treated surfaces until they've dried completely. Basic precautions for anything you're putting on structural materials. The International Residential Code, the document that governs residential construction across most of the United States, specifies vapor barriers, crawl space ventilation requirements, flashing details, drainage planes, water-resistive barriers. There is not a single line in the IRC recommending borate application as a preventive treatment against fungal growth. Not one reference. Building codes are developed by the International Code Council. The committees that draft the actual technical language include significant representation from material manufacturers and contractor trade associations. A 2019 New York Times investigation documented that the National Association of Home Builders held a written agreement guaranteeing 4 of 11 seats on the committee that writes the residential code. The people shaping those rules profit from expensive, recurring solutions. A mineral compound available in the laundry aisle for under $6 does not fit that financial model, so it never appears in that language. The IICRC, the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning, and Restoration Certification, publishes standard S520, the reference document for most insurance-covered mold remediation work in the United States. That standard details containment protocols, air scrubbers, HEPA filtration requirements, professional-grade treatments. It doesn't prohibit borax. It simply has no reason to mention it. Nobody in that certification pipeline makes money telling a homeowner that a $6 box could have prevented the service call entirely. This is the part that matters most for anyone in this community. If you're building out a long-term location, a homestead, a secondary property, a hardened primary residence, think about the sequence. Mold starts in the wood. Your floor joists, your rim joists, your wall framing, your roof sheathing, that's where a moisture event, a slow leak, a single wet winter, turns into a structural problem you may not catch until significant damage is already done. The window to treat is before you close up a space, before you insulate a crawl space, before you install vapor barrier, before you finish a basement. Apply borax solution to the exposed framing while it's accessible, let it dry in place, and you've created a treated environment that resists the colonization that would otherwise compromise your structural investment over time. In a functioning economy with a working grid, a bad mold situation is expensive and disruptive. In a grid-down or supply chain disrupted scenario, which is precisely the situation this channel prepares for, a compromised floor system or a rotting rim joist is a structural emergency with no easy fix. The remediation crew isn't coming. The lumber yard may not be open. The time to treat your wood is now, while the solution costs under $6 and takes an afternoon. A pump sprayer costs $15. The USDA has published the science. Commercial products already use the chemistry. The building codes just never found a reason to include it. That's the pattern. Simple, documented solution, buried under an industry that profits from the complicated version.